They told me Christmas was called off. Money's tight, we're just staying home. So I spent the holiday alone. That night, my cousin uploaded a video. Packed house, turkey being served, family-only invites. Everyone was there except me. I said nothing until Dad texted, "Can you cover the mortgage this month?" I answered, "Ask the family you picked." Then I shut off every payment and watched the chaos unfold. What if I told you the very people I sacrificed everything for, the ones I loved most, lied to my face, canceled Christmas, and then celebrated without me? The moment I saw that video, my world shattered. But that was just the beginning of how I finally reclaimed my power. Asterisk, asterisk, my name is Brittany. And at 28, I thought I knew what family meant. I thought it was everything, especially Christmas. That day was sacred in our house. We grew up in Willowbrook, a small Arizona town where everyone knew everyone. As the oldest of three, I always felt responsible. My parents, Michael and Laura, ingrained in us the importance of family bonds, of tradition. My brother, Josh, is 25, and my sister, Katie, 22. We weren't rich, but during the holidays we were happy. Christmas was pure magic. Mom would spend weeks turning our modest three-bedroom house into a wonderland. Dad would drive us around to see the lights, hot chocolate in hand. We had these silly traditions. Matching pajamas, one gift before bed. Those memories, they were the bedrock of my childhood joy. I was always the academic one. Graduating with honors from high school, I snagged a scholarship to Arizona State for computer science. College was a grind, but rewarding. I worked my tail off, part-time jobs covering what my scholarship didn't, determined to make something of myself. Even then, I came home for every single holiday, especially Christmas. Family was my unwavering priority. After graduation, I landed my dream job at Tech Fusion in Seattle. It was an incredible opportunity, even if it meant moving 1,000 miles away. My starting salary was more than both my parents made combined. I was so proud, but I really missed being close to home. Everything shifted 3 years ago. Dad lost his job. He'd worked at that manufacturing plant for 20 years, but at 54, he couldn't find comparable work. Mom's part-time department store job wasn't cutting it. They were losing the house, the one they'd been paying off for 18 years. When Dad called me, his voice choked with tears. Terrified they'd lose everything, I didn't hesitate. "I'll help," I told him, my heart aching. "Just tell me what you need." That was the start. First, it was the mortgage for a few months. Then utility bills. Soon, I was sending them $2,000 every single month just to keep their heads above water. "It's just temporary, princess," Dad would promise, "until I get back on my feet." I never minded. My career at Tech Fusion was soaring. I'd been promoted twice. My salary allowed me to live comfortably in Seattle and support them. Despite the distance, I called my parents every Sunday. As this Christmas approached, those calls became more frequent. I hadn't been home in 6 months due to a massive project at work, overtime, and weekends blurring into one. But the thought of Christmas with my family, that's what kept me going. "I can't wait to see everyone." I gushed to Mom in early December. "I've been saving up all year for gifts." "We've missed you, sweetie," she replied. "Katie keeps asking when you're coming home." I spent hours online, searching for perfect gifts. For Dad, a premium fishing gear set he'd always wanted but would never buy. For Mom, a silver locket with pictures of all her kids. For Josh, the latest gaming console. For Katie, still in college, a new laptop. I even bought special gifts for aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who would gather at our house. The cost was significant, but I'd budgeted meticulously. After a year of financially supporting my family, of barely taking a vacation day, I felt like I'd earned this splurge. My flight was booked for December 23rd, staying through New Year's Day. 10 full days with my family. My apartment in Seattle, modern as it was, always felt a little cold. It wasn't the same as Mom's elaborate decorations. I worked extra hours to clear my schedule, often staying until 9 or 10 p.m. My boss, Samantha, noticed. "You're really pushing yourself, Brittany," she said one evening. "Make sure you enjoy your time off. You've earned it." "I will," I promised. Christmas with family is worth every late night. I found myself daydreaming constantly, sledding with my siblings at Pinehurst Hill, helping Mom bake gingerbread cookies while Dad snuck bites of dough. All of us around the fireplace, opening gifts, Christmas music playing softly. The anticipation was my fuel. This year had been tough, and the weight of supporting my family financially sometimes felt crushing. But their faces opening those gifts, the hugs, the laughter, that would make it all worthwhile. Christmas would be my reward. 2 weeks before my flight, I shipped the carefully wrapped gifts to my parents' house. I texted Mom separately, asking her to hide them. "These are special," I wrote. "I can't wait to see everyone's reaction." That was the last normal conversation we had. The call came on a Wednesday evening, 11 days before Christmas. I just dragged myself home from a 10-hour day, exhausted. My phone rang with Mom's familiar ringtone. I answered, smiling, expecting to finalize plans. "Brittany, honey." Mom's voice sounded strange, hesitant. "I need to talk to you about Christmas." Something in her tone made me sit down hard on the couch. "What about it? Is everything okay?" "Well, your father and I have been talking, and we think it might be better to skip the big celebration this year," she stammered. "Money's just too tight, and we're feeling overwhelmed." I frowned, confused. "Mom, I've been helping with bills all year. I'm happy to bring extra for the holidays." "It's not just that," she continued, her voice oddly distant. "We're just going to stay in this year. Nothing special. Maybe it's better if you save your vacation days for another time." This made no sense. Christmas was our tradition. We'd celebrated through much harder times when I was a kid. "Mom, I already bought all the gifts. They're on their way to you. And my flight is booked for next week." She sighed. "The gifts are too much, Brittany. We can't match that kind of spending, and it just makes everyone uncomfortable." My stomach dropped. "I don't expect anything in return. I just want to see everyone. We can do a simple celebration. I'll even cook dinner myself." There was muffled conversation on their end. Then Dad's voice, using my childhood nickname. "Princess, listen. We're just staying in this year. Nothing special. Just a quiet day for your mother and me." "But what about Josh and Katie and the cousins? We always spend Christmas together." "Everyone understands," he said firmly. "It's just 1 year. We'll do something next summer instead, when things aren't so hectic." I tried everything. Offered to book a restaurant, shorten my trip, even just a small immediate family gathering. Each suggestion was gently but firmly declined. "We're just staying in" became their repeated mantra. Nothing special this year. By the end of the call, I felt utterly deflated, but I tried to be understanding. Times had been tough. Maybe the pressure was too much. Still, canceling everything felt extreme. "I can still send the gifts, right?" I asked before hanging up. "If you want to," Mom replied, sounding strangely disinterested. "But don't expect anything elaborate in return." After the call, I sat on my couch, staring at my small, blinking Christmas tree. The excitement had evaporated, replaced by confusion, disappointment. I tried to be mature. My parents were stressed. I understood that. The next day, I canceled my flight. No refund, just a credit. Another disappointment. What would I do with my 10 days off now? I texted my siblings. Josh replied with a brief, yet tough year. Katie didn't respond at all. That was unusual. Over the next few days, I tried to keep some holiday connection alive. I suggested a group video call on Christmas morning. Mom said their internet was spotty. I offered to send ingredients for our traditional Christmas breakfast. Dad texted back that they were watching their sugar intake. Each rejection felt stranger than the last. My parents weren't health conscious. Our rural Arizona town had reliable internet. Something was deeply, deeply off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. A week before Christmas, the tracking info showed my gifts were delivered. I texted Mom. "Yes, got them," was her only reply. No excitement, no gratitude, no questions about what was inside, just a flat confirmation, as if I'd sent a box of paper clips. I tried calling. No answer. I left a cheerfully fake voicemail wishing them a peaceful holiday. Neither called back. 3 days before Christmas, Dad texted, "Nothing special happening here on Christmas Eve or day. Just staying in. Don't worry about calling. We might turn phones off to relax." That message hit me like a physical blow. Don't worry about calling on Christmas. In 28 years, I'd never spent a Christmas without at least speaking to my family. Now, they were actively discouraging me. As the day approached, their responses became even more distant. Josh stopped replying. Katie said she was super busy with friends. My parents' communications grew scarce. Despite all of it, I kept sending cheerful messages. I still hoped they'd reach out, change their minds, or at least express some warmth. I tried to ignore the growing dread. The gifts I'd shipped represented weeks of effort and a significant chunk of my savings. The thought of them sitting unopened, or worse, open without care, was agonizing. But more than the money, it was the emotional investment that hurt. Each gift was a tangible piece of my love, my desire to bring them joy despite the distance. Christmas Eve arrived with heavy snow in Seattle, frosting my windows. In past years, this was when I'd call, wish them a Merry Christmas Eve, before we all donned our matching pajamas. This year, my calls went straight to voicemail. That night, I fell asleep with my phone clutched in my hand, still hoping for a message that never came. I woke on Christmas morning to silence. No excited calls. No cheerful group texts. Just the quiet hum of my apartment building and my neighbor's muffled TV. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to conjure the holiday spirit. This would be my first Christmas alone in 28 years. I'd known it was coming, but the reality hit with unexpected force. I checked my phone, nothing. The screen reflected a stark emptiness that mirrored the ache in my chest. "Merry Christmas to me," I whispered to the empty room, forcing myself out of bed. I'd made half-hearted attempts to decorate. My small artificial tree stood in the corner, a few gifts from coworkers and my best friend, Amy, under it. I'd strung lights, lit a holiday candle, but now they felt like sad imitations of real warmth. I shuffled to the kitchen, made coffee, trying to plan my day. I declined invitations from Seattle friends, naively clinging to the hope my family would change their minds. Now I faced hours of solitude. I called my parents' home phone, then their cells. All went to voicemail. I left a bright, cheerful message, hiding my hurt. "Hi, Mom and Dad. Just wanted to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Hope you're having a peaceful day, like you wanted. I love you both and miss you. The gifts are from me, of course. Hope you like them." My voice sounded artificial, even to me. I maintained the facade. Maybe they really had turned their phones off to relax. I called Josh, then Katie. Neither answered. More upbeat messages, masking my growing isolation. With no one to talk to, I put on Christmas music and decided to cook. Not Mom's traditional turkey, but something special just for me. Ham, mashed potatoes, a simple vegetable. As I chopped and stirred, I found myself talking out loud, narrating like a cooking show. "Now we'll add a glaze to the ham. Just brown sugar, a bit of mustard, and some spices." My voice echoed in the empty apartment. I swallowed hard against the lump in my throat. By 3 p.m., my meal was ready. I set my small dining table with my best dishes, lit a candle. I even put on a nice sweater, refusing to spend Christmas in pajamas. As I sat down alone, I took a photo of my plate, almost posted it, but stopped myself. I didn't want my family to see me alone if they were checking feeds. I didn't want their pity. The food was good, but tasted like nothing. Each bite was mechanical. I left half the meal. Afterward, I opened the few gifts under my tree. A scarf from a coworker, wine from my boss, and Amy's carefully wrapped package. I saved Amy's for last, knowing it would be thoughtful. Inside, a beautiful photo frame with a picture of us from college graduation. Arms around each other, huge grins. A note for your new place. Never forget who's always in your corner. Love you, friend. Tears sprang to my eyes. Amy had invited me to Boston, but last-minute flights were impossible. I texted her a photo of the frame. Love it. Love you. Merry Christmas. Her reply was instant. Merry Christmas. How are you holding up alone? I hesitated, then replied honestly. It's harder than I expected. No word from family yet. That's weird, she responded. Have you checked social media to see if they posted anything? I hadn't. I'd actively avoided social platforms all day, not wanting to see perfect family gatherings. But Amy's suggestion planted a seed. If they were truly having a quiet day, there'd be nothing to see. I'll check later, I promised Amy. Watching Christmas movies now. I wasn't, but I needed time. Part of me dreaded what I might find. The afternoon bled into evening. Snow continued to fall, blanketing Seattle. In Arizona, it would be sunny, maybe 50 degrees. I imagined my childhood home, quiet, just my parents reading or watching TV. No decorations, no special meal, no celebration. I tried calling one more time around 6 p.m. Still no answer from anyone. The silence was deafening. By 8 p.m., I'd run out of distractions. Cleaned the kitchen. Reorganized my bookshelf. Wrapped in a blanket. Staring blankly at a Christmas movie. The characters' holiday joy felt like a mockery. With nothing left to occupy my restless mind, I finally opened Instagram. I told myself I was just checking on friends, but Amy's suggestion gnawed at me. What if my family had posted something? I didn't have to look far. A notification popped up. Jackson Williams went live 30 minutes ago. Jackson was my cousin. We grew up together, still friendly but not super close. My thumb hovered over his profile picture. Hesitation mixed with a terrifying curiosity. If it was a quiet, scaled-back Christmas, there'd be nothing notable. I tapped the screen. My world collapsed. The video began playing, and there it was, my childhood home. But nothing about it resembled the quiet, minimal Christmas my parents had described. The living room was transformed, bathed in elaborate decorations. A massive tree towered in the corner, surrounded by piles of brightly wrapped presents. Garlands draped the staircase. Festive centerpieces adorned every surface. But it wasn't just the decorations that sent a shockwave through me. It was the people. The house was full, brimming with familiar faces. My brother, Josh, lounged on the couch in a new sweater I didn't recognize, laughing at something off camera. Katie sat cross-legged by the tree, sorting through gift tags with our younger cousins. My aunts and uncles clustered in conversation groups, holding wine glasses and plates of appetizers. And there, in the center of it all, were my parents. Mom wore a beautiful red dress I'd never seen before, her hair freshly styled. Dad stood beside her in a crisp new button-down, carving a massive turkey at the dining room table. Annual Williams Family Christmas Feast. Jackson narrated, panning across the room. Everyone's here for the big day. Everyone, except me. Asterisk, asterisk, I felt physically ill, a wave of nausea rising in my throat. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. But I couldn't stop watching. The camera moved to the mantel, displaying elegant Christmas cards. I froze the frame, zoomed in. They weren't cards. They were invitations. Gold script on cream paper. Williams Family Christmas Celebration. Family only. December 25th, 3 p.m. Family only. The words burned into my brain. I continued watching, a sense of detached horror washing over me. As Jackson's video tour showed relative after relative, all gathered in the home where I'd been told nothing special was happening, where Christmas had supposedly been canceled due to tight finances, where I had been explicitly told not to come. The video moved to the gift exchange. I watched as my mother opened a small jewelry box and gasped in delight, holding up an expensive-looking diamond pendant. "Michael, it's beautiful!" she exclaimed, kissing my father. The same father who accepted $2,000 from me monthly. The same mother who said they couldn't afford Christmas this year. I recognized some of the wrapped packages under the tree, the ones I had sent. They sat untouched in the corner, clearly set aside and forgotten in the excitement. Then came my father's speech. He stood, holding a glass of champagne, another expense they supposedly couldn't afford, and addressed the room. "I want to thank everyone for making it here today," he said, smiling broadly. "Looking around, I see everyone who matters to us, everyone who makes this family special, everyone who matters." The words were a knife to my heart. "This year hasn't been easy," he continued, "but having all of you here makes everything worthwhile. To family." "To family," the room echoed, raising glasses. A family that apparently didn't include me. The video ended with scenes of dessert and more gifts being opened. My gifts remained untouched. An afterthought, I replayed the video 3 times, capturing screenshots. Each image was more damning than the last. The elaborate meal, the expensive new clothes, the professionally decorated house, the champagne, the diamond pendant. The physical symptoms of shock set in. My hands went cold and numb. My chest constricted. The room spun. I had to put down the phone and focus on breathing. I ran to the bathroom and threw up the Christmas dinner I had prepared for myself. Kneeling on the cold tile floor, I finally allowed the tears to come. They weren't gentle tears of sadness. They were harsh, body-racking sobs of pure, unadulterated betrayal. 3 years of financial support. 3 years of sacrificing my own savings to help them. 3 years of believing I was an essential part of keeping my family afloat. And all of it? Apparently a lie. They hadn't canceled Christmas because they couldn't afford it. They had simply canceled Christmas with me. After the initial shock subsided, I returned to Instagram with a methodical determination. I checked my brother's profile. Earlier that day, he'd posted, "Best Christmas ever with the fam." The photo showed him with our parents and sister, all in matching Christmas sweaters, all smiling broadly. I checked Katie's stories. She documented the entire day, from breakfast to gift opening. "Annual Williams Christmas Magic," her caption read, as if nothing was different. I checked Aunt Susan's profile. Photos going back weeks showed preparations for the gathering. "Can't wait for our family Christmas," a post from December 10th declared. Right around the time my mother called to tell me the holiday was canceled. With shaking hands, I texted the screenshots to Amy. Her response was immediate. "What the actual hell? Call me now." I did, and the moment I heard her voice, I broke down again. They lied to me. I sobbed. They told me Christmas was canceled, that they were just staying in, that money was too tight. And they're all there without me. "Oh my God, Brittany," Amy whispered. I don't even have words. I've been sending them money every month." I continued, the words pouring out between sobs. $2,000 to help with the mortgage with bills. Dad lost his job and said they might lose the house. I've been helping them for 3 years, Amy, 3 years. And now they're buying diamond necklaces and throwing huge parties. The outrage in her voice mirrored the feeling building inside me. "I don't understand," I said, my voice small and broken. "What did I do wrong? Why wouldn't they want me there?" "You didn't do anything wrong," Amy said firmly. "This is about them, not you. This is exploitation, Brittany. They've been taking advantage of you." The word hit me hard. Exploitation, was that what this was? Had my own family been using me? "I need to look at something," I said suddenly. "I'll call you back." I hung up and immediately opened my banking app. There it was, the recurring monthly transfer to my parents' joint account. $2,000 on the first of every month for the past 36 months. $72,000 total. I scrolled through my text history with my father. Every month, like clockwork, a thank you message after the transfer. This helps so much, Princess. Don't know what we'd do without you. Just until things turn around. I searched my email for receipts of additional financial help. Car repairs, medical bills, property taxes. Thousands more beyond the regular transfers. Money I could have saved for my own future, spent believing I was helping keep my family stable. The betrayal cut deeper with each revelation. This wasn't a one-time exclusion. This was a pattern of deception designed to keep me sending money while keeping me at a distance. I called Amy back. I need to see how long this has been happening, I said, my voice now eerily calm. The tears had stopped, replaced by a cold, focused anger. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to find out the truth, I replied. All of it. Over the next few hours, Amy stayed on the phone as I conducted a thorough investigation. The more I uncovered, the more extensive the betrayal appeared. I think I should check their other social media, I told Amy, my voice hollow as the initial shock gave way to methodical fact-finding. Do it, she encouraged. You deserve to know exactly what's been happening. I started with Facebook, which my parents used more frequently than Instagram. My father's profile revealed numerous gatherings over the past year that I'd known nothing about. Family barbecues, a lavish Thanksgiving dinner, even a vacation to San Diego in October that no one had mentioned. They told me they couldn't afford a vacation this year. I said to Amy, my voice rising with indignation. I offered to take them somewhere for their anniversary, but Mom said traveling was too expensive right now. While you were working overtime to send them money, Amy added, the disgust evident in her tone. My mother's profile yielded even more damning evidence. Photos of shopping trips showcasing expensive purchases, check-ins at upscale restaurants, a post about their new entertainment system from just 2 months ago, complete with a picture of a massive flat-screen TV that must have cost at least $2,000. $2,000, the exact amount I sent them monthly to help with the mortgage. Amy, I think I've been funding their lifestyle, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. Not their necessities. I suspected something was off with them, Amy admitted quietly. Remember when I visited you in Arizona last year? Your mom was wearing a designer watch, but they were still accepting your money for emergencies. I did remember. I'd noticed the watch, but assumed it was a gift or a good knockoff. I hadn't wanted to believe my parents would spend frivolously while claiming financial hardship. Why didn't you say something? I asked, not accusingly but genuinely curious. You were so convinced they needed your help, Amy replied gently. You spoke about it with such pride, being able to support them. I didn't have proof they were taking advantage, just a feeling. I didn't want to hurt you without being certain. The conversation made me reflect on other warning signs I'd missed or dismissed. The new car my father started driving last year, supposedly a great deal. The kitchen renovation Mom had mentioned, casually described as minor updates, which I now saw from photos was a complete, high-end remodel. I returned to Instagram and scrolled further back through Jackson's profile. There, from 6 months ago, was a post that made my blood run cold. Another fantastic Williams family reunion. So great having everyone together. The photo showed my entire extended family gathered at a lakeside cabin. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. They've been excluding me from family gatherings for at least 6 months, I told Amy, my voice breaking again. Probably longer. But why, Amy? I asked the question I couldn't answer. You've done nothing but support them. You're successful, generous, kind. What possible reason could they have for cutting you out? I had no explanation that made sense. I had always been the responsible one, the achiever, the child they bragged about, or so I thought. I need to check something else, I said suddenly. Let me call you back. I hung up and immediately opened my email, searching for the most recent conversation with my younger sister, Katie. We had discussed her visiting me in Seattle over her spring break, with me offering to pay for her flight. Her response, now, seemed telling. Not sure if I can get away from family obligations that week. Maybe another time. Family obligations. The phrase took on new, sinister meaning. I searched for emails from Josh, too. 3 invitations I'd sent for him to visit Seattle in the past year, all declined for vague reasons. Never a suggestion of an alternative date. My family hadn't just excluded me from this Christmas. They had been systematically cutting me out of their lives while continuing to accept my financial support. I called Amy back, my research continuing. I'm looking at my financial statements from the past 3 years, I told her. After the monthly transfers and the extra emergency help, I've given them nearly $80,000. Jesus Christ, Amy breathed. That's a down payment on a house. That's a huge chunk of retirement savings. Meanwhile, I continued, pulling up property tax records online, there's no indication they were ever in danger of losing their house. The mortgage payments have been made consistently. No liens, no penalties, nothing to suggest financial distress. They lied about the fundamental reason you were sending money, Amy stated flatly. That's not just taking advantage, Brittany. That's fraud. The word hung between us, harsh but accurate. My own parents had defrauded me, their daughter, of tens of thousands of dollars, while systematically excluding me from family life. I kept making excuses for why I couldn't visit more often, I realized aloud. Work was too busy. Seattle weather was unpredictable. But they never invited me home, Amy. Not once in the last year did they actually ask me to visit. Because they didn't want you to see how they were living, Amy concluded. You might have noticed the disconnect between their claimed financial hardship and their actual lifestyle. I continued piecing together the timeline of deception, a knot of anger and hurt tightening in my chest. Every discovery added to the betrayal. Every realization made it clearer. This hadn't been a misunderstanding. This was calculated, ongoing exploitation by the people I trusted most. Through social media posts and conversations with extended family over the years, I created a rough outline of gatherings I'd been excluded from: an Easter celebration, a 4th of July barbecue, Labor Day weekend at a rental cabin, Thanksgiving, and now Christmas. 5 major family events in 1 year, all deliberately hidden from me. The worst part, I told Amy as midnight approached, is that I genuinely believed I was helping them survive a difficult time. I cut back on my own expenses. I put minimum payments on my student loans. I delayed starting a retirement account, all so I could help them keep their home and maintain some dignity after Dad lost his job. While they were taking luxury vacations and buying diamond necklaces, Amy finished, no longer bothering to hide her outrage. Why? I asked again, the question that kept circling back. Why would they do this to me? Some people take advantage wherever they can, Amy said softly, even from those they should protect most. It's not about you, Brittany. It's about who they are. As Christmas Day came to a close, I sat surrounded by screenshots and financial statements. The evidence of my family's betrayal laid bare before me. The pain was evolving, transforming from the sharp shock of discovery to a deeper, more resolved understanding of what needed to happen next. Amy, I said finally, my voice steady despite the tears that had left tracks on my face. I need to make some changes. I'm with you, she replied instantly. Whatever you decide to do, I'm in your corner. As I prepared for bed that night, my phone chimed. A new message. It was from my father, the first contact from my family all day. My heart raced as I opened it, wondering if perhaps there would be an explanation, an apology, something to make sense of the inexplicable cruelty. Instead, the message read, "Hope you had a nice Christmas, Princess. Quick question. Can you help with the mortgage payment on Monday? Bit short this month. The usual 2,000 would be great. Thanks in advance. I stared at the message, a cold clarity washing over me. After everything I had seen today, after the elaborate celebration they had hosted while telling me Christmas was cancelled, my father's only communication was another request for money. In that moment, something shifted permanently inside me. The last, lingering doubt about what I needed to do vanished. I didn't reply to the text. Not yet. First, I needed a plan. I spent the next 3 days in a state of focused determination, ignoring all attempts at communication from my family. My father's initial text was followed by several more. "Princess, did you get my message about the mortgage? We're counting on that transfer going through Monday. Is everything okay? You usually respond right away." My mother texted as well. "Sweetie, Dad says you haven't confirmed the money transfer. Is everything all right? We need to pay the mortgage." Even my siblings, who've been radio silent on Christmas Day, suddenly found time to check in. "Hey sis, hope your Christmas wasn't too lonely," Josh wrote. "Parents seem worried about reaching you." Katie's message was similar. "Mom's freaking out that you're not responding. Everything okay?" I read each message with detached interest, noting that their concern was entirely focused on the status of the money, not on my well-being after spending Christmas alone. Not one mentioned the family gathering I'd been excluded from. Not one acknowledged the lie. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I consulted with 2 important people. First, I met with a financial advisor at my bank. I brought the documentation of all transfers to my parents over the past 3 years. "Were these loans or gifts?" the advisor asked. "They were presented to me as emergency assistance for my parents who were in danger of losing their home," I explained. "But I've recently discovered they were never in financial distress." The advisor nodded sympathetically. "Unfortunately, without written loan agreements, these would legally be considered gifts. However, we can absolutely stop any automatic transfers and secure your accounts going forward." Together, we canceled the recurring transfers scheduled for Monday. We changed my passwords and security questions. We even set up alerts for any unusually large withdrawal attempts. My money was now secure from further exploitation. Next, I video called Amy, who had been my rock through this ordeal. "I'm ready to respond," I told her. "I've secured my finances. Now, I need to establish boundaries." "Are you sure you're ready?" Amy asked gently. "It's okay to take more time." "I'm ready," I confirmed. "If I wait any longer, they'll just find another excuse for why they need money. The cycle needs to end now." Amy nodded. "I'm proud of you, Britt. Whatever happens, remember this is about protecting yourself, not punishing them, even if they deserve it." With my finances secured and my resolve strengthened, I finally responded to my father's text on the evening of December 28th, 3 days after Christmas. The message I'd received that morning had been more urgent. "Brittany, we need to know if the money is coming tomorrow. The mortgage payment is due." My reply was simple but impactful. "Ask the family you chose." Within minutes, my phone exploded. First, a call from my father, which I declined. Then my mother, then Josh. All calls went unanswered. Text messages began flooding in. "Dad, what do you mean by that?" "Mom, Brittany, what's wrong?" "We need that money for the house." "Josh, sis, parents are freaking out." "Call them." "Katie, what did you say to Dad? He's really upset." I remained silent, watching the panic unfold from a distance. It was telling that their concerns centered entirely around the money, not around understanding what might be wrong or why I'd sent such a cryptic message. Finally, after an hour of ignored calls and texts, I sent a group message to my immediate family with several of the screenshots attached. Images of the Christmas gathering, the expensive gifts, the family invitations. My message read, "I saw everything. I know Christmas wasn't canceled. I know it wasn't a quiet day at home. I know everyone was there except me. I've contributed over $80,000 to this family over 3 years, believing you needed help to survive. That ends today. All automatic payments have been canceled. The response was immediate chaos. My phone rang continuously for the next hour. I turned it to silent and continued with my evening routine. A strange calm had settled over me. For the first time in years, I felt in control of my relationship with my family. When I finally checked my messages before bed, I found dozens of texts ranging from defensive to apologetic to outright manipulative. My mother had sent, "You're completely misunderstanding. We didn't think you could make it home with your busy job. We were protecting you from feeling obligated to travel." My father wrote, "This is a huge overreaction to a simple misunderstanding. We need that money for the mortgage. Princess, the family depends on you." Josh tried a different approach. "Look, nobody meant to hurt your feelings, but cutting off financial support hurts everyone. Think about what you're doing." Katie was the only one who showed a hint of genuine remorse. "I'm really sorry, Brittany. I should have told you about the gathering. I just went along with what Mom and Dad said." I didn't respond to any of these messages that night. Instead, I drafted emails to my landlord, utility companies, and other regular expenses, explaining that payments from my account might be attempted by unauthorized individuals and should be declined without verbal confirmation from me directly. I couldn't put it past my family to try accessing other accounts. The next morning, I had a voicemail from my mother that revealed more than she likely intended. "Brittany, you need to stop this tantrum immediately." Her voice was tight with anger rather than concern. "Your father and I have supported you your entire life, and this is how you repay us, by abandoning your family over a silly Christmas party. We have the mortgage payment due, the property taxes coming up, and we just put a deposit down on a snooty Caribbean cruise for February. We can't afford all this without your help. Call me back immediately." A cruise. They had booked a cruise while telling me they couldn't afford Christmas. The final piece of confirmation I needed. Instead of calling my mother back, I made an appointment with a therapist specializing in family trauma. I knew I would need professional support to process the magnitude of this betrayal and to maintain the boundaries I was establishing. That afternoon, I received a call from an unexpected source, my father's sister, Aunt Sandra. Unlike the rest of the family, she'd always been somewhat of an outsider, often missing from gatherings. I had always felt a kinship with her, but hadn't spoken to her in months. "Brittany," she said when I answered, "I heard what happened. Your cousin Jackson told me you saw his Christmas video and that you weren't invited. I want you to know I had no idea they told you Christmas was canceled." Her words held a ring of truth that had been absent from my parents' explanations. "I've been sending them money for years, Aunt Sandra," I confessed. "They told me they were about to lose the house after Dad lost his job." There was a long pause before she replied. "Your father didn't lose his job 3 years ago, Brittany. He took early retirement with a pension package. They've never been in danger of losing the house." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Not just manipulation of the truth, but an outright fabrication of the very premise that had led me to provide financial support in the first place. Why would they lie about something so fundamental? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. "Your parents have always lived beyond their means," Aunt Sandra explained gently. "Your success became their solution. They've been bragging to the family about their clever arrangement with you, your generosity funding their lifestyle, while they maintain control over the family dynamic by keeping you at a distance, so you can't see how they're using your money." "And everyone just went along with this?" I asked, incredulous that not a single family member had reached out to warn me. "Most people didn't know the extent of it," she admitted. "I only found out recently when your father got drunk at Thanksgiving and boasted about how they had trained you to send money without question. It made me sick, but I didn't have your contact information to warn you." Her honesty, painful as it was, provided the external validation I desperately needed. This wasn't a misunderstanding or an overreaction on my part. This was deliberate exploitation by my parents, enabled by the silence of family members who either didn't know the full truth or chose not to interfere. "Thank you for telling me," I said sincerely. "It helps to know I'm not crazy for feeling betrayed." "You're not crazy," Aunt Sandra assured me, "and you're not alone. I've often been the family outcast myself for questioning your parents' behavior over the years. If you need someone who understands, I'm here." Her support strengthened my resolve. After our call, I composed a formal email to my parents, copying my siblings. It read, "After discovering the extent of the deception regarding family finances and being deliberately excluded from family gatherings while continuing to provide financial support, I am terminating all financial assistance effective immediately. Any future communication should acknowledge the truth of what has occurred rather than continuing the pattern of manipulation. I will be taking time to reassess our relationship and what form it may take going forward, if any." The email was met with a barrage of responses. My mother's outrage, "After all we've done for you," my father's attempt at financial threats. "You'll regret this when tax season comes. You've been claiming some of our expenses." To my brother's sudden concern for my mental health, "You're not thinking clearly, sis. Maybe you should talk to someone." I forwarded these responses to my therapist as examples of the manipulation tactics I was facing. Her validation helped me stand firm as the pressure from my family intensified over the following days. 1 week after Christmas, my father sent a text that showed he still hadn't grasped the severity of the situation. "Look, we're sorry if your feelings were hurt about Christmas, but we really need the January mortgage payment. Can you put aside this disagreement until we figure things out financially?" My response was brief. "The mortgage is your responsibility. My bank has been instructed to decline any attempted withdrawals from your accounts." It was the last direct communication I had with my father for months. As January began, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. The family I thought I had was gone, revealed to be an illusion maintained as long as I provided financial benefit. But with that painful truth came freedom from exploitation and the opportunity to rebuild my life on honest foundations. The first month after cutting financial ties with my family was surprisingly peaceful. After the initial flood of calls and messages, there was radio silence from my parents and brother. Only Katie sent an occasional text, usually just to check if I was still mad. I responded politely but maintained my distance, explaining that this wasn't about anger, but about fundamental trust and respect. "I'm not mad, Katie," I wrote. "I'm protecting myself from further exploitation. There is a difference." As February approached, I began hearing updates through Aunt Sandra, who had become an unexpected ally. According to her, my parents were experiencing the natural consequences of losing their daughter ATM. They missed the January mortgage payment, she told me during one of our weekly calls. "Your father's been asking other family members for loans. Are people giving them money?" I asked, concerned that someone else might be manipulated as I had been. "No," she said with a hint of satisfaction. "Your courage in standing up to them exposed their pattern. Nobody wants to be the next Britney." While I took no pleasure in my parents' struggles, there was a certain justice in them finally facing the reality of their own financial choices. For too long, they had lived beyond their means with my unwitting support. Now, they would need to adjust their lifestyle to match their actual income, or find another source of funding. In my own life, I began experiencing the benefits of reclaiming my finances. For the first time in 3 years, I had an extra $2,000 each month to allocate toward my future rather than my parents' fabricated emergencies. I increased my retirement contributions, began building an emergency fund, and even started researching first-time home buyer programs. "It's amazing how much more secure I feel financially," I told Amy during one of our video calls. I hadn't realized how much stress I was carrying, always worrying about their next crisis. "That's because there was always a next crisis," Amy pointed out. "By design." She was right. Looking back, there had always been some urgent need just after I'd recovered from the previous expense. a broken water heater, car repairs, medical bills not covered by insurance. Each crisis carefully timed to maximize my sense of obligation while preventing me from questioning the pattern. February brought another update from Aunt Sandra. My parents had canceled their cruise, unable to make the final payment without my contribution. This news came with a screenshot of a social media post from my mother lamenting that they had to cancel due to unexpected family issues. The subtle attempt to blame me might have hurt me months earlier, but now I recognized it as another manipulation tactic and let it go. Through weekly therapy sessions, I began to understand the dysfunctional dynamics that had allowed this situation to develop. I learned about financial abuse, typically discussed in the context of romantic relationships, but equally applicable to my family situation. I explored my need for approval and tendency to overfunction as the responsible one in relationships. Most importantly, I began to recognize that I deserved relationships based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. Your generosity isn't the problem, my therapist assured me. Your boundaries were. But you're fixing that now, and that's tremendous growth. By March, I had established new traditions and connections that began filling the void left by family estrangement. I joined a hiking group that met weekly to explore trails around Seattle. I accepted dinner invitations from coworkers I'd previously declined in favor of video calls with family who now seemed to have had little genuine interest in my life. I even started dating again after a 2-year hiatus, meeting a kind environmental engineer named David who valued honest communication above all else. I've been so focused on proving my worth through sacrifice, I told him on our 3rd date, having shared a simplified version of my family situation. I forgot that relationships should add to your life, not drain it. Healthy love multiplies resources, he agreed. It doesn't deplete them. As spring approached, I received the first communication from my family that wasn't centered around money or manipulation. It came from my brother, Josh, a handwritten letter that arrived at my apartment in early April. I've been thinking a lot about Christmas and everything that happened after, he wrote. At first, I was angry with you for cutting off Mom and Dad financially, but the more I've watched them scramble and blame everyone but themselves, the more I've realized you might have been right all along. They told us you couldn't come for Christmas because you were too busy with work and didn't want to be bothered with family stuff. We believed them because it was easier than questioning. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you. I should have reached out directly instead of accepting their version of reality. The letter continued with details of how my parents' financial situation had deteriorated. They had downsized to a smaller car. They were considering selling the house and moving to a condo. They had started arguing constantly about money, each blaming the other for spending habits that could no longer be sustained without my subsidies. I don't tell you this to make you feel guilty, Josh clarified toward the end. You have nothing to feel guilty about. I tell you so you know that your decision forced some necessary changes. Maybe in time they'll learn from this. Maybe not. Either way, I'd like to have a relationship with my sister again on healthier terms. I cried after reading his letter, not from pain, but from the validation it provided. Then I called him, our first real conversation in nearly 4 months. I never wanted to hurt anyone, I told him after we'd exchanged awkward greetings. I just couldn't keep sacrificing myself for people who didn't even want me around. I know that now, he said quietly. And for what it's worth, I did want you around. I just didn't stand up to Mom and Dad when I should have. It wasn't complete healing, but it was a start. A small bridge being rebuilt between siblings who had been manipulated into distance by parents with ulterior motives. Katie followed with her own olive branch a few weeks later, a text message admitting she had known Christmas wasn't really canceled. I was selfish, she confessed. I went along with it because I didn't want to rock the boat. You deserved better from your little sister. These gestures from my siblings were meaningful steps toward potential reconciliation, but I maintained firmer boundaries than I had before. I agreed to monthly video calls with each of them, separate from any contact with our parents. I made it clear that I would not discuss my financial situation or decisions with them, nor would I entertain requests to resume supporting our parents. My relationship with Mom and Dad will develop on its own timeline, if at all, I explained to Katie. I'm not asking you to take sides, but I am asking you to respect my boundaries. As for my parents, their approach to the situation continued to reveal their true priorities. In May, after nearly 5 months of minimal contact, my father sent an email with the subject line, "Possible compromise." The body of the message read, "Your mother and I are willing to put the Christmas misunderstanding behind us. If you could consider resuming financial support at a reduced level, perhaps $1,000 monthly instead of $2, this would be tremendously helpful as we transition to our new budget. In exchange, we promise more transparent communication about family gatherings going forward." The offer contained no apology, no acknowledgement of the deliberate deception, and no recognition of the harm caused. It was purely transactional, treating our relationship as a business negotiation rather than a family bond in need of healing. I didn't respond. My mother tried a different approach, sending a Mother's Day card with a lengthy handwritten note expressing how much she missed her little girl and how families should stick together through misunderstandings. Again, no genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just an attempt to minimize the betrayal as a simple miscommunication, while appealing to family loyalty. I sent a polite thank you text for the card, but did not engage with the manipulation tactics embedded in her message. By summer, a full 6 months after the Christmas revelation, I had established a new normal that prioritized my well-being. My finances had never been healthier. I had put a down payment on a small condo in a neighborhood I loved. My relationship with David had deepened into something truly supportive and reciprocal. My friendships, especially with Amy, had flourished as I devoted more energy to people who genuinely valued my presence. Most importantly, I had developed a stronger sense of self-worth that wasn't tied to being needed or being the responsible provider. I learned that true generosity comes from abundance, not obligation, and that healthy relationships involve mutual giving rather than one-sided sacrifice. When Christmas approached again the following year, I felt a twinge of sadness for the family relationships I had lost, but no regret for the boundaries I had established. I created new traditions with chosen family, hosting a dinner for friends who couldn't travel home and volunteering at a local shelter on Christmas morning. The joy I found in these connections was authentic in a way my family relationships had not been for years. I did eventually reconnect with my parents, but on dramatically different terms. After nearly 18 months of limited contact, they reached out with what seemed to be genuine remorse, prompted in part by family therapy they had reluctantly begun at Aunt Sandra's insistence. Our relationship now is cautious but cordial. I visit occasionally but maintain clear financial boundaries. No loans, no gifts of money, no discussions of their financial challenges. They have adjusted to their actual income level, selling the large family home and adopting a more modest lifestyle. The most valuable lesson from this painful chapter wasn't about money at all. It was about recognizing that families should be defined by mutual care, respect, and honesty, not by DNA or obligation. It was about learning that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for others is to stop enabling harmful patterns, even when that choice brings short-term pain. And it was about discovering that my worth was never tied to what I could provide or sacrifice, but to who I am as a person worthy of authentic connection. The Christmas that was canceled turned out to be the greatest gift I ever received. Not a celebration of family, but a revelation of truth that allowed me to reclaim my life and rebuild it on foundations of genuine love and respect. Have you ever had to create strong boundaries with family members? What was the hardest part? I'd love to hear about your experiences and what you learned in the comments below. Remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect. If this story resonated with you, Please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into.